His mandate expired on Monday, but instead of leaving, Congo's president seems to be digging in. There were more gunshots heard in Kinshasa Wednesday after a day of protest that left, according to the UN, at least 19 dead, despite the images of bloodied opposition supporters in court, limited access to internet, military police out in force. The ban on demonstrating braved not only in the capital, but in places like Lubumbashi, Boma, Matadi, and elsewhere. Joseph Kabila's mandate expired Monday, but he says that there is an outdated voter roll. He insists that conditions for an election are not ripe. He will hold a poll. It'll be in 2018. Critics denounce this as a stalling tactic. He's gone about naming a government of national cohesion that includes, wait for it, a record 67 ministers. Without the main opposition parties, however. Kabila is right on one point. It is legitimate to ask whether it is, in fact, actually possible to organize swiftly a free and fair election in a sprawling and chaotic nation like DR Congo, still home to the world's largest UN peacekeeping force, a giant with feet of clay, standing on a ground filled with precious minerals, riches that have turned out to be a curse more than a blessing. How to break the cycle of chaos and stolen wealth? We'll be asking our panel today in the France 24 debate. Will Kabila go? With us, Michael Chimbangu of the Association for Sustainable Development in Congo. Thank you for being with us from London.
Thank you.
Here in the studio, Giulio Bono of Internet Without Borders. Your staff have been getting through. We'll ask you about that. Two people in Congo these past days, in these crucial moments. And from Dakar, the capital of Senegal, human rights lawyer Pascal Kambale. Thank you for being with us. Also, we're with, from Geneva, Benedicte Kumbi Njoko, spokesperson for Don't Be Blind This Time, a citizens' movement. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
The France 24 debate on Facebook and Twitter, our hashtag F24debate. Kinshasa, well, still holding its breath this Wednesday. Many still prefer not to venture outside. We're talking about a bustling city of 12 million. For more on this, let's go now to our France 24 correspondent, Thomas Nicolon. Thomas, how are things after nightfall on this Wednesday in Kinshasa?
It would be exaggerated to say that things are back to normal in Kinshasa, but the city looks more alive than it did on the 20th of December and on the 19th of December. There was way more traffic today than there was on the previous days, but there was still a lot of people staying in their houses, people telling us that they were afraid to leave their houses, that they were afraid of the security forces, even though the police spokesman told us that the police and the army are in Kinshasa, were deployed in Kinshasa these days only to protect the population. Some people are still afraid, and little by little the city is looking more alive, and things should be back to normal in the next couple of days.
Thomas, the other big news where you are is the Catholic Church warning that a deal to break the impasse must be reached, quote, before Christmas. Is there any sign that the main players in this crisis can sit around a table before that time?
It is very hard to say, to know if a deal, if an agreement can be reached at that dialogue. There are still many differences of opinion, and for example, a few opposition leaders who are at these talks, participate in these talks, still want the deal to step down, and for many people, this is not going to happen. So the Catholic Church, the bishops, they just came back from the Vatican. They met with the Pope, and they said that if the deal, if an agreement was not reached before Christmas, they would take their responsibilities without going any further. We don't know what that means, but the Catholic Church wants to solve that political crisis as soon as possible, because everybody knows that in a country like Congo, things can blow up very quickly.
Thomas, before we let you go, we reached out before when we were preparing this show to the government, to government spokespeople, to supporters of Joseph Kabila. We were unsuccessful in getting somebody to take part in the show. I know that Kinshasa as a whole is more of an opposition stronghold, but are there people there who support Kabila?
Of course, and it is important to say it. The whole Congolese people, the whole nation is not against Kabila. Kabila is not in power today as we speak illegally. There was an agreement that was reached at a previous dialogue, and when you walk the streets, you still see a lot of people who tell you that they actually value what Kabila has done for this country. And yesterday, after the clashes, we could still see dozens of young men in the streets with Kabila flags and showing their support to the president after what had happened earlier. So there are people who support him. That is definitely true, and there are also people who want him to step down because this is the end of his mandate.
Thomas Nicolon, many thanks for that live update from Kinshasa. I'm going to go around the table. I'll begin with you, Benedict Kumbi and Joko in Geneva. You heard Thomas Nicolon saying there that it was, after all, a decision handed down by the courts that allowed him to stay on. Do you think he should go right now, today?
But I think that it's important to remind everybody here that when the court joined to reach that decision, the quorum was not met in order to have a decision that would be acceptable for everybody. So I think that we need to ask the question, what are we talking about here? We're talking about legitimacy of Mr. Kabila, and as per what happened with the court, I think that there is no legitimacy for him to pretend to be the president of the Congo.
So what would be your scenario, Benedict? What do you, if he was to step down right now, this minute, what would happen?
But I even don't know why we're speaking about him stepping down, in the sense that he's already out of mandate. If he had a mandate once, actually at the moment we could say that this is a rebel leading.
All right, I'll put the question differently, Benedict. Who should be filling his shoes right now?
Yes. But I think that we should have a type of committee that should be put in place. But this committee should be also the will of the people of the Congo, because I think that with what has been said until now, it is striking to me that nobody's listening to the people of the Congo when they're saying that they don't want Kabila in power anymore.
All right, so a committee, but that takes setting up. So who handles the executive power in the country?
But I think that it's still possible to find in Congo people, men or women, who are not corrupted, who maybe have the will of the people at their heart in order to fill that mandate. The problem is now that in Congo, the people who have aspiration for this country are afraid to step forward, because if they do, they will be assassinated or molested or sent to jail. So that's the problem we're facing, and that's why maybe people are not seeing any alternative. But if this is given to the people of the Congo, if we set up maybe that kind of committee to protect the Congolese people and the Congo nation, maybe then we will see some women and men coming forward and ready to take the lead of the country in order to prepare the elections, but then true elections.
All right, just other bits of information we should point out. The international community weighing in, the UN condemning the violence that we've seen this week, Germany suspending aid, France considering sanctions. But the government insists Kabila is staying on. There is a roadmap. It's all above board.
Since the Constitution says that after the 19th of December, the incumbent president remains until the proclamation of the new president, well, that's what applies. That is the mechanism that the international community will follow, and the mechanism that the people will follow.
Michael Chibangu, have you got a better plan and one that is realistic, that can be applied?
Well, in terms of Kabila stepping down now, well, the Constitution itself foresee that situation in that we have Article 75 of the Constitution, which says that if the president was to resign, the president of the Senate would assume the interim until the election. So the Constitution actually, there is a plan out there. And the second alternative that is proposed is that Kabila should give firm commitment that is not going to change the Constitution, and there's going to be a very short transition, and then afterward there will be a peaceful transfer of power. So it is possible to have those situations, but the real problem here is perhaps due to Kabila unwillingness to leave power. None of these situations, none of the things that are put forward would succeed if Kabila doesn't want to leave power. So much of it depends on his intention. What does he really want, and where does he want to take the country? But it is possible to have a peaceful outcome and a peaceful transfer of power.
Pascal Kambale, you agree it's possible to have a peaceful outcome at this 11th hour, it seems?
Absolutely. I think Michael is right on point. I think it's important to remind people that this is unprecedented. The only thing that is unprecedented is that we have a sitting president who has legality and legitimacy, and who just loses legality and legitimacy for reasons of his own make. That's the only difference. But we have had in the history of this country situations where we have no legitimate and no legal president at the helm of the country, and then people come together through table rondes, conferences, etc., to agree on the way forward. We did it in 2001, 2002 in Sun City, South Africa. We did it in the 60s during the first years of the after the independence, after the big crisis following the assassination of Prime Minister Lumumba. People will come together. This is a tradition in that country. So this is not new. The fact that people are coming together, civil society, opposition, ruling party, etc., around a round table and agree on the path forward for the country is not unprecedented at all. It's actually
not unprecedented at all.
DNA.
Pascal, we're going to try to call you back because the connection is a little bit tenuous, shall we say, and get a better line with you. I want to ask Julia Wono about this. You just heard Pascal Kambale saying, we hear about the chaos and bloodshed when we hear about Congo, but there are precedents in which people can sit around the table and have a dialogue. What are the people in the field at Internet Without Borders telling you as far as the climate this week after that Monday midnight expiration of President Kabila's mandate?
Yes, the climate, according to people with whom we work, several civil society organizations, and most of them being youth civil society organization, youth playing a huge role this time in the election, in the electoral period. But we have to remember what's the context of the country today. The DRC is hugely resource-rich. I've read a figure, something like 24 trillion in terms of minerals, $1 trillion in terms of minerals, which is huge. And also a country which has had a 7% growth each year since the beginning of the 2000s, which is well above the 5% observed in other countries of the region. But nevertheless, it's a country where 53% of the population is unemployed, where corruption is widespread, where there's a 20 years long war which has really killed 6 million people, where women are raped every day in dramatic conditions, where it's also the youngest country in the world today, which with a median age of 18 years old. So obviously, it's understandable that today that youth is getting involved into the political debate. It's not only about the constitutional debate, whether the president should change the constitution or not. It's also a social debate on whether the current regime, the current government has been able to provide for the basic human rights.
The big broad issues of development, of which way the country is going. But right now, what we've seen this week is the crackdown that's denounced by the United Nations, the internet not completely cut.
No, it's not completely cut. We did a report on this. It's limited. That is to say, social media, certain social media are not accessible, and specifically, you're not able to view or to send videos or photos. And this is very interesting because targeting specifically videos and photos is a reminder of what happened in January 2015, where when the internet was completely cut, but nevertheless, people were able to send using networks from neighboring countries such as the Republic of Congo or Rwanda. Using those networks, they've been able to send videos and photos of the police cracking down and killing peaceful protesters. So that's the reason why the Telecom Regulations Authority of the DRC ordered telecom operators to limit at least the use of social media, and it's confirmed from the people we work with. It's also technically confirmed that there have been...
But we've seen photos get out nonetheless.
We've seen because
even from correspondence.
Because there are ways to circumvent this. We work a lot. We do a lot of advocacy at Internet Without Borders with other organizations because we think that cutting the internet is another way to mask other huge human rights violations. And in the case of the DRC, it's completely, absolutely, it has been true for the past 12 to 15 months. So that's why it's so important to preserve the social media and to preserve internet working. And most importantly, internet has been the weapon of the youth, the only weapon of that youth which is using communication, which is trying to attract the attention of the international community,
to the crisis.
To the crisis.
We're going to come back. We have to take a very quick break, and when we do, we'll address some of those social issues that you were mentioning. Stay with us. You're watching the France 24 debate.